Mission.
Hi, this is Joel Persinger. I'm the Gun Guy. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thank you very much for watching my channel. I really appreciate it. Listen, there's a couple things I want to clear up with you before they get out of hand, and I'm seeing them get out of hand in some of the comments. So I want to make sure that you know what my history is and you're not confused about it, because I've seen comments come through about my being a retired police officer or a SWAT guy or a veteran or any of these things. So I just want to clear the air on that because I don't want you to be confused as to what my history is. So first of all, I'm not a military veteran. I've never been in the military. I am not a retired police officer, and I am not a police officer. So I'm not a policeman or any kind of law enforcement. I'm not retired from that, and I'm not a military veteran. What I am is a guy who spent a lot of time in the private sector. That's me. So, for example, most recently, over the last 10 years, I've, along with my business partner, who's an awesome guy, who unfortunately is leaving the company at the end of 2017, and then it'll just be my wife and I who own it, but he's a great guy. Along with him, we've owned a company that has trained security officers for the state of California for the last, I think, 10 years. And along that time in that 10-year period, we also owned a security company that did, along with a very good friend of mine who's a current police chief who shall remain nameless, and a very good friend of mine who's a retired police chief, both excellent dog handlers and new dog handlers, and a buddy of mine who actually works for a larger company who does what I'm about to tell you we did. We did a lot of explosives and narcotics detection with canine teams. So we had some fairly large clients. And that's what we did. We went and swept areas for explosives, and we did other things, raves and that kind of stuff, for narcotics. And then along the line with that company, we also did quite a bit of high-end security. We had a number of high net worth. We had a couple of high net worth clients, and we had some who just had a lot of exposure and getting a lot of threats who were public figures, let's put it that way. And we provided high-end security teams for them. Now, along the way, we also had a bail bondsman who's a personal friend of mine who was a client of mine personally, and I was part of his fugitive recovery team. I'm also a licensed bail bondsman in the state of California, and I've worked as a bail bondsman for a while for a company that shall remain nameless, but they're a great company, and I just stopped doing that a couple of weeks ago. So when you have to go find people who FTA, people who fail to appear, that can be, it's a lot like serving a warrant, and that can be a very dangerous proposition, and I've done quite a bit of that. So that's part of that as well. And by the way, there is that fellow with the long blonde hair who is on television and has a reality TV show doing that. I'm just going to say that bears no resemblance whatsoever to reality. It's reality TV, which you know is very seldom have anything to do with reality. So if you're doing fugitive recovery work, or you don't know anything about it, let me tell you that it is very similar to going and serving felony warrants and picking up somebody that needs to go to jail. It can be very dangerous. There's a lot of work to it. I rather enjoy doing it, but I'm also getting older and I don't want to do that anymore. Now, along the way, in my past, I've been a director of security at a fairly large company. I've been a manager of security at a couple of companies, and I've done all kinds of different work like that. So along those years, in addition to some other things, I've always been an entrepreneurial guy. I spent almost 18 years, almost 19 years actually, in broadcasting as a radio personality and television cameraman and some other things. And then my wife and I also owned a real estate office, and so we've started a couple of businesses and sold them or moved on to something else because I'm one of those guys never graduated from college and have always had my fingers in 5 or 6 different pies. So that's me. That's why I present myself as your average guy, because that's what I am. I'm an average guy. I'm not a veteran. I'm not a retired police officer. I'm not a police officer. Now, I am a law enforcement certified firearms instructor. So along the way, as part of my company, I have trained some law enforcement folks, actually quite a few, in one thing or another. So I've done quite a bit of that as well. So there you go. That's who I am. That's what I've done. In the process of all of that, I've had my boring moments, of course, like anybody does in the private or public sector. I've also had some exciting ones. I pulled a guy out of a burning car once because I was the only person on scene, and if I hadn't pulled him out, he would have died. That doesn't make me a hero. It makes me the guy who happened to have been there. I've been shot at. I've had knives pulled on me. I've had people try to hurt me a number of different ways. So in that sense, when I say that I've had experience and have had to draw a firearm, or have had people shoot at me, or have had things happen to me, it's been in the capacity that I just described. So please, if you've, I want to apologize if you've had any indication that I'm something that I'm not. Let me clear it up right now. Now you know precisely what I am. I'm a guy who's had a varied experience in life and has had to carry a gun a lot. Now, my dad, on the other hand, was a sheriff's deputy in Oregon, and he was, at one point, a resident deputy and lived in Clatskanie, Oregon, which is a tiny little town just off the Clatskanie River, which is a tributary right off the Columbia, and absolutely loved spending time with him up there. It's a beautiful part of the country, and so there you are. I hope that clears it up. If you have any questions about any of this, or you're confused about it in any way, let me know, because I don't want to in any way associate myself with having retired from a police department or been a veteran or being an active duty police officer. I'm none of those things. I am just what you see, a regular guy with a tactical Hawaiian shirt an awful lot. So hopefully that clears that up. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful week. Thank you for supporting the channel, and have a happy new year. I'll see you in 2018. And if you're celebrating tonight, please be safe.